What is excellent, everyone? It's Zen. It is Mercury retrograde, which affects communication, it affects travel plans, and it is the end of a cycle, which is 2016. 2 plus 1 plus 6 is 9. It's the completion of a cycle. And it's also Christmas time, which has to do with the winter solstice, meaning the 3 days of darkness when the sun is the least in the sky. There's the least amount of sunshine for people in the northern hemisphere. So there's not a lot of light, and it's actually the 3 shortest days before Christmas. So there's everything stacking up against people. There's everything that is energetically in the negative. And so most of the time, and we're going to talk about the cycles a little farther before I get into this whole lesson, but it's saying that the amount of energy wasted, the amount of energy spent is extraordinary right now. And the timekeepers and the people that made the calendars and the time lords, they designed cycles in a certain way so that energy was at a very low point because everyone's just went and spent their cash. Everybody went and spent more than they had. They've gone into debt for Christmas. They've used all of their energy and then some. And then on top of it, there's these 3 very dark days. And then what happens? Everybody, like the family, gets together, and all of these cycles come up again. And everybody, oh no, we've got to go see family. And there's always people that don't want to deal with issues. So they imbibe of a spirit, and some families get along, but there's a lot of families that they rehash old problems, and then they carry it on for the new year. So they go right back into a new cycle. And I'm putting this video out despite the fact that I don't have a lot of energy, and I know I've been stumbling over my words, and I can tell there's quite a bit of energy that is against communicating properly with the Mercury retrograde and the cycles and how things pop up and challenge. But despite that, it is the holidays, the holy days, and I want to put this gift out here for everyone so they can understand the allegory and the analogy and all of the symbolism behind Christmas and what it means for your life, for your body, for magic, and for how to produce a future. And this is a video that I did a long time ago, and I'm rehashing it and putting a lot of new things in here to really get to the exactness of what it is, and explaining the magic of it, explaining the science of it, explaining the symbolism, and how all of this is laid out in symbolic form for anyone to get a hold of. And what happens is people only see it once a year. They see the symbolism and it goes away, and they think it's exoteric symbolism, but it's very esoteric symbolism. There's a lot of hidden meaning to it. Everything about all of the holidays really has something to show you. And this is the most profound, but people are so busy rushing around participating in the material aspect of this holiday that they really have not a clue to the spiritual and the mental aspect to what these symbols really mean. And I'm going to try to get into that. I'm going to get into Santa Claus and what these Meeseeks are, and the servitors and how they connect together, and how all of these different symbols work. And symbols are called symbols, as simulation bulls, and bull has to do with Isis and the moon and where the magic is. They call it Christmas Eve. Well, who's Eve? Adam and Eve. Where do you get your money from? The ATM, the atom, the Adamic. So atom, or the atom, or the ATM, it's all an idea of where currency and energy comes from. And if we look at it from the esoteric standpoint, the occulted, the hidden, right in front of your face, if we look at it from that standpoint, we can start to inject these ideas into our consciousness to become magicians, to create a reality that will serve us individually and collectively. And these cycles, the larger ones, have just been flipping flopping back and forth between a male and a female energy. And what we need to do is get somewhere in the middle. We need to understand what it is to create, not from a left and a right, but from an up and a down, from the idea of what Satan is and what the earth is and what Julius Caesar is and what the material world is and what the spiritual mental world is and where creation actually comes from. So if we just start with Santa Claus, we obviously know that Santa is an anagram for Satan. They're both red. There's always fire has something to do with both of them, and this Santa Claus has presents that he brings, and presents is an anagram for serpents. And now if we take this into the body, we know that the serpent energy which runs up and down the spine has to do with kundalini, and it has to do with the male and the female, the magic and the electric, the magnetic and the electric. So it binds those together. And this serpent, which has everything to do with underground and you snakes and serpents and Satan, all are bound together. And what does Santa bring you? He brings you gifts. He brings you presents. And presents is also, the word is pre-sent. It means sent before. And so where does Santa come from? He comes from Most High. He comes from the farthest place north. And if you think of north as up and down, then you know Santa comes from a higher region or from the ether. He's always in the air flying around. So he comes from the higher consciousness. But he's bringing the goods. And he's dressed as Satan, as Santa. So he represents the Jesus Christ, the Jesus figure, meaning all year long you had ideas of what you wanted for presents, what you wanted to be pre-sent to yourself. And to obtain these presents, you store up energy and currency. And that currency, you live in a material world. Everybody wants to play this game about, we live in a simulation and, everything needs to be spiritual. Yet they live in a physical body, and there's no one getting away from that. You can do that at nighttime, and it's part of it. Part of it is the evening time and the astral realm and the lucid dreaming, and so you can get in your subconscious, and the getting out of body so you can start to see things differently. But as we are here, we're in Julius Caesar's world. JC is Jesus Christ, and JC is Julius Caesar, and this is why Caesar is the king on the coin. And that coin buys you, and it binds you to the physical realm. And this is how you get the presence in the physical realm. And so this is the connection between Santa being the Jesus Christ figure and Santa being the Satan figure. See, Satan is not the bad thing. This is the inverted pentagram and the pentagram that stands upright. It's pointing to the earth, and the other one points to the heavens. And just like the cross, and Jesus sits on the cross, and the cross is upright, but then you look into what would be called Satanism, and it's flipped upside down. And it's just showing the two, where the base is, where the T is flipped upside down. One is the physical realm, one is the higher realm. But they're bound together. No one's sitting up there in the spiritual realm, not coming back down, because if they are, then they're not participating here, and there's no dealing with that, unless of course you get into the astral realm and you can talk to angels or angles and angles of light, and that's part of it. But you don't live your life there. You live lives there. This is absolutely certain, and you gain wisdom, and you have experience, and you gain gnosis and knowledge, and all of this you can experience there, and it's part of this realm too, because that spirit comes back into your physical body. But there's no denying that you live in a physical world. So these two again are completely bound together. and how to let's get into this coal real quick. A lot of people talk about this this naughty and this nice list. Santa's checking it twice. It has to do with your thoughts, because Santa is Jesus and Jesus is your imagination. If you look into Neville Goddard and listen to his work, it's fantastic. He knows the Bible inside and out. And he knows a lot of other really esoteric wisdom and occulted wisdom, and binds it to this kind of story. And this has to do with your thought processes. So this Santa figure, he's saying, well, what did you think about all year? Were they good things or were they bad things? And you receive based upon what your thought is. It's what Bruce Lee says. Bruce Lee says, I'm not scared of the man that has tried and practiced 10,000 kicks one time. I fear the man that has practiced one kick 10,000 times. And what that is focus. It's focused attention to one thing. And so if you're focused and attention on nice things, on things that you want, that's what you'll receive. But if they're on bad things, well, the idea is this, that Santa will bring you coal. But we must remember that that coal is the same thing as a diamond. The only difference is that coal is just not pressurized or heated up or organized. The information in a diamond is organized. It's informed. It's an information. It's in a certain formation. And so that coal, even when you get the coal, there is still fire in that coal. There is still the ability to stay warm. There is still something there. It's even telling you, even with all of that bad that happens, you still have the basis to make a diamond for the next year. You still have the basis to make a fire to heat your house. You're still receiving. So you either way you get something. And it's just choosing what you like. And so this whole idea is about how to do this every day. How to do this every moment. That you go to sleep and you go to bed and you go into these dream worlds, you have these meditations, and it's what Alan Watts, he makes, I don't remember who first said this, but the idea is you should meditate for an hour a day. And if you don't have time to do that, you should meditate for 2 hours. You see, because you're so busy with everything that you can't actually dream of anything. You can't actually produce a reality. So you need to make more time so that way you can produce a reality. So how does this connect to magic and the occult and all of this wisdom here? Well, let's start with these symbols again. They're called symbols because they're simple. Simple. Symbol. They're simulated bulls. And the bull has to do with Isis. It has to do with the moon, magic, what the nighttime is, which is Eve, and evening, Christmas Eve. You dream in the evening to make something happen. And that dream comes from your subconscious mind. And your subconscious mind is way more powerful than your conscious mind. Why? Because your conscious mind changes the gears all the time. You can think a zillion different thoughts in a linear fashion, from this, that, to the next thing. And they can be good, bad, and different. And they can sometimes, and they're always in pictures, and then you decode them through words and language. But truly, the symbol is rich. The symbol, we live in a symbol illiterate culture because we don't identify with them, because they're so far in our back, in our subconscious. We're controlled by them because we don't know what they mean. And so this is part of the power of the subconscious. It's making symbols. And so this bull, which is the dual-horned bull god, this is 2 horns, to show you duality, even though duality doesn't exist because it's still bound up in the same thing. The strength of that bull and those 2 horns, it's still in that symbol. If you go and play in a band and you're playing the drums, then you hit the cymbal. That symbol is putting off a vibration that is it's that tone, and a tone is a note. T-O-N-E is N-O-T-E. And this symbol, which is this tone, what do you call money? You call it a note. So that currency, that energy that's there, is all wrapped up in the language and in the symbolism. So these symbols, as we get into how to make them, I've done this in other videos. We talk about making these symbols so they can speak to your subconscious mind, so it can bypass the filter of your consciousness, so that it creates there, so when you go to sleep, you're in that place. I've done other videos on this, and I'm going to do one after this, possibly tomorrow, and we'll get into all of this further. but I'm just going over the explanation for these things. So Santa Claus is always flying around in the sky, and how does he make all of these presents? He makes them with elves. Elves are a small self, and an S is the snake. ISIS is money, so it's currency. Isis is the moon. It's the symbol on the dollar. It's two snakes. It's a snake wrapped around a single pole. So there's your snake. So a self is an energetic elf. So you are the self, and you make tiny little elves. So Santa Claus makes elves to go and make something for him, to produce the presents that he will deliver to you. And those elves are akin to, if anybody's watched Rick and Morty, to the Meeseeks. Because those Meeseeks are made as, and what they're called in the magical world is servitors. They serve a purpose. And they're thought forms that basically get turned into an idea, and you can draw it out on paper using the pen and the papacy and all of the father elements. You can project it that way. And that's one of the tools you need to use in the beginning until you become, as Dan Winter says, the only goal here in life is for you to take memory through death. And so you die every night, and you die whenever you have an orgasm, meaning that as a man, you've wasted seed, you've wasted energy, and if there was no purpose to that seed to produce something, then you've wasted life, you've killed part of yourself. Unless, of course, you produce a child, and that child doesn't necessarily have to be a physical being. It can be connected to an etheric realm. You can use, just like I've done in other videos, we can use every one of our body fluids. Some are easier to use, some have more power than others, and some are more beneficial due to heightened senses. And so you can use fear base, but you can also use love base, you can use sweating, you can use exhaustion. There's all sorts of things to put charge into these thought forms. And then making symbols. So you can make these servitors to go, just like elves, and produce the presents to deliver you on Christmas. And Christmas to you is any time you want it to be. People think of it once a year in an exoteric fashion, meaning they build up energy and charge throughout the entire year to go into debt for presents and gifts that they had to spend money on. But you can do this in the dream world and produce a reality that's more akin to what you'd like to have in front of you. That's how it's always made. That's how it's always been done. But it's hidden from everyone, not for the reasons you think, though. It's the same reason that you hide a knife and matches from a 3-year-old. That's why. Because you see all these people, oh man, if I had $1 million, oh, if magic existed, I'd have $1 million. I'd go buy 6 cars and have have the hottest women, and I would, oh man, it would have the greatest parties and da da da. Like, no, that's why you don't know how this works. That's exactly why it can't work for you. It's not allowed to. It's self-regulating. The system has always been that way. And this is why me saying these things doesn't affect anything in a positive or negative way. If anybody listened to this that couldn't understand it, that wouldn't believe it, then it's self-regulating. And if you do and you use it, then you know certainly that within magic, if you were to do anything that was harmful to someone else, your karma, your reward is going to be severe. It'll come back to you. It has to. If you don't have control of your mind, if you don't have control of the practice, of the art, of your tongue, of how to produce a reality, if you don't have control of these things and you were to try to practice it really quick, you'd get smacked in the face. And so that in that way it's self-regulating too, because if somebody goes and tries something and they're gonna get the rewards, and then they're gonna be, they'll be jaded by it, and they'll be, that doesn't work, or that didn't turn out right, and they're gonna think of it in a bad way. So it's always self-regulating. So as you become more wise to it, as you become more fluent in the language and the symbolism and the structure and into how all of this works, you can start to create a reality that will be more akin to serving yourself while serving others. Because as I've done in other videos, it's always bound together. You can't, If you are a weak person, you can't help people. And if you were only serving yourself, then no, your existence would be, it'd be fruitless. Nobody would want to be around you. So it's always, some people, it's like this. Some people um, expend charge in different ways. Sometimes it's back and forth really quick. A little bit of this for a little bit of this, a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and it's back and forth. And throughout a day, people's charge change quickly. Other people go into a cave. Other people go into a hermetic seal and put themselves and build up giant charge and then release all of it. There's just different ways of doing it. And it's always existed that way. And then you get to choose how you'd like to. It's just like you go to your job. What are you going to do? You're going to save up money all year and buy that giant item that you wanted? Or are you going to go out and enjoy every day a little differently? That's your choice. It's for you to use. It's your currency. Now, the currency that you have in your body, I always give the solutions to how to cleanse your body so you can build up more charge in it. So you can clean your mind. So you can clean the pathways, your neurology, your system. And then I show you how to take and use oils within your body so you can lubricate your system so the energetic system works better. And also, just like a live wire, around that wire, you always have the rubber. And that rubber maintains and holds the charge. And that's what the oil does within your system. And if you want to have a very clean system, you're going to clean your blood. So we get into all that, and I've done that in other videos. I'm not going to do that again here, but it's all about cleansing your system. So that way, when you start to have energy flux through your system, and you can create in a faster fashion. This is why, people have asked me a lot of times, like, well, why don't you have everything that you want? Well, because the quickness, the quickening of getting a response to whatever your thoughts are. If your thoughts aren't perfect, you can be quick to pay for something. So you've got to be very careful with it. Until you get a hold of your mind, creating something has a lot of downfalls. There's self-regulating things. So as we cleanse our body, as our mind stills, as our body gets cleaner, it becomes easier and easier to manifest. And as I was explaining these servitors, there's other different thought forms that you can create. There's different names for them. They're called tulpas. You could look into that. Like I said, the next video I'll get into all of these specifically. The other ones are called egregors. Now these are, and then we can look at buildings outside of us and these giant corporations. They're called corpses, corporations, and they're built based upon the human body. And these things are just outward manifestations of thought forms that someone had that they created by writing it on paper and then producing it. Now you can do that. Or you can do it in a different way where you could, and this is a higher technology, and this is almost certainly how the world was created to begin with, that someone's thought was so strong, and we get back into Egypt, and when I was speaking about the pyramids and producing a reality, that the thought was so strong and so vivid that reality was spit out, and that you could actually take these thought forms and put it right out in front of you. And that's probably going to be really far away for a lot of people, but that certainly is the goal. Because once you get out of body, once you, if you do die, that's how you get back into a body. You have to be so certain. You put yourself into the situation. You put yourself into a body. You have to be certain that that's what you want. And this is how this reality works here, that during the nighttime, you have to be so sure you want to get out of body, you have to do it in the opposite way. And so we take these thoughts that we have. We know what the symbolism means. We change our brainwave patterns by breathing differently, by using different mudras, by changing our patterning of what we might do during a day. We change the times we might get up, what time we might go to sleep. Little things like this, just little alterations alter your consciousness. And so what we're aiming to do here is cleanse our temple, learn the breathing patterns, learn the mudras with your fingers and what each finger means, learn how to properly push energy around the body by using different locks, meaning you have your PC, your pericardium, and you have your taint, basically your taint and your the muscle that you use to urinate, like those things there, by locking and holding, you can see that there's actually, as you get more accustomed doing these things, there's different muscles there. And you can hold energy by breathing in and then holding and then pushing out the energy. You can build up energy and build up charge. And then we can start to push energy around our bodies. And we can start to fill ourselves up with oxygen, which becomes a super fuel, and putting the right oils in our body after cleansing ourselves, because once again, there's no reason that you'd take your automobile and put new oil in it if you haven't completely cleaned it out of the old oil. There's no reason for you to start putting things in your house if you have not cleaned your whole entire house out. This is why I don't suggest to people to do anything but cleanse themselves fully first. Only then you should think about putting any singular elements in your body. And this is why I don't suggest anybody use any kind of inorganic salts. I mean, that's not the only reason, but there shouldn't be much of a reason to use that, because you'll get confused at what is having the result on you. You'll think it's one thing and it's something else. You might get addicted to an element thinking that's the spice, but in reality, it was something else completely. And this is why we want clean water, pure, nothing in it. This is why we want clean air, pure air, nothing in it. This is why you burn, this is why you take gold and you burn it until there's nothing left in it but just pure gold. And so in your mind, in your thought, in the air, in the water, we want it to be pure, clean, clear, empty, still. And then you can use that clear pond, you can use that clear canvas, that page, to draw upon, to create with. And as we do that, as we change, as we upgrade our charge, as we think about ourselves as organite, as we surround ourselves with better energy, there's good, better, best, as we increase the energy within our systems, our aura increases. And our aura is our area. It's the charge that we have that spits out of our system. This is why they say the magnetic field of the heart is, I don't remember what it is, but it's some, multiple times stronger than the brain. And I don't know specifically it's directly from the heart, but it could be. But it has something to do with the spine, I'm sure. It has something to do with your body, your blood plasma. I'm sure of that. And this is why you need to clean your blood so the charge is correct. And change your brainwave patterns. And start to deliver yourself presence from the universe. From the universe city. City means place of power, S-I-D-D-H-I, or a person with power, a magician. So a university means uni, means single. A verse is like a stanza. It's one line. I think it's Savan Bomar says universe means united in conflict, and he's mistaken. Universes, if your verses means conflict. This team versus that team. Not verse. It's not this verse that. It's this versus that. It's two different words. So universe, city, means a single point of power. And this is why you live on a flat earth, a flat plane. And that single place of power is called the North Pole. That North Pole is your spine. Atop that North Pole, there is a ball, and that's your pineal gland. It's called Mount Pineal, Mount Meru. Mount Meru is MM. MM is 33. Take the M's and put them on their side. It's 33. This has to do with your vertebrae in your spine. This is the allegory to Freemasonry. This is why water freezes or frees itself at 33 degrees. At 32 it is frozen, and it frees itself from that and turns into a liquid. This is your spine. This is all of these numbers. They're placed this way for a reason, because it was the great work that was put outside of you, because you're spitting out this reality. And it's just reflecting back something that was already inside of you. And it's reminding you that you're the creator. You're the magician. So is everyone else. And everyone gets to create the reality they would like. And we can all unify and create a better reality and a better experience for everyone that goes into the service for self and service to others. People get blinded by becoming egoic and always serving themselves and missing the point. And then other people miss it in the other direction by always serving everyone else. And they become so distraught and so delusioned that they've spent their life just working for everyone else. And they're both, there's no balance to either of those things. And if we all learn to harmonize, then it's called the long spoon method. There's a great video, you should look it up. If your spoon is too long that you can't turn it around and feed yourself, if you had a 5-foot spoon, you couldn't stick the food in your mouth, but you could feed someone across the table from you and they could feed you. And so that is the idea of serving others. But then you get into it a little deeper and then you wonder who cooked the stew and you wonder why didn't somebody make some smaller spoons, and it becomes a fun little mental game. But nonetheless, let's I think that's about everything I wanted to say here, guys. And tomorrow I'll bring back more gifts for y'all, so you can learn to create all of these sigils for yourself. And I've done other videos on this and explaining even more in depth how these sigils work and what it does in your consciousness, what it does in your subconsciousness, what it means to get out of body, what it means to actually have a lucid dream. And a lot of these dreams, here's the difference again, and I'll say it here. A lucid dream, a dream, you know to be different than being out of body, because one deals with just an internal subconscious environment, and it's always regulated almost entirely by symbolism. And it's not as vivid, but the symbolism is there. It might be vivid for people, but it's always symbolic, so it's you have to decode it, and that's why it's in your subconscious. But when you're out of body, when you're fully out of body, when you're very aware, the reality can become as vivid, if not more vivid, than the reality that you're living right now. That you can touch things, that you can see things, that you can smell things. It's not just telepathy there. It is sometimes, but you can actually have a conversation. You can physically touch things. You can taste things. You could read a book. It's for people that have been out of body, that have this vivid of experience, that you know exactly what spirituality is, what your spirit is, and what this physical spacesuit is. And it's learning to know the difference between your subconscious mind, decoding that, so you can take a better look at your waking life, and then when you get out of body, you can start to look at things, and you walk around this reality, and you're looking at it from just a different vibration, and you can, just like in the movie Ghost, if you collapse all of the energy, you can move things around in the environment. Spirits are real. So are you would say, as I've done these other videos, we're talking about what the great revealing was, and it was taking the things from most high and bringing the heaven to earth, and also bringing the lower realms up higher, so it collapses it all together to where it is now, so you can see things as they are. They call them angels and demons. Well, there's nothing wrong or right about either of those, because there's fallen angels and there's demons that are climbing up the ladder to get out of the dirt, and they both have their place, and they both participate in this reality, and this is what the revealing is. And the revealing on top of that is that, hey, this is your experience. Who cares about everybody saying about this might be a matrix, or oh, these people out here are doing this, and the news says that. Well, yeah, we got it, but it's your experience, and let's improve that. And then you can start to look around you and say, hey, I know that person. I think that person exists. I want them to have a good experience. And you can start to manifest things for other people. You can look at someone, you can improve their day. How many times have you made someone smile? How many times have you helped and improved someone's outlook on life? So there's the real magic. Magic for yourself and magic for others. So here, I put a little picture of myself over here to the right. And if you want to, throw me some good vibes or throw me some whatever you want, that'd be really beneficial. That would help you. So now you get in a mode of having good thought, sending me good thought. Now you're in good thought, and now you send me good energy, and we harmonize off of each other's energy. You get this excellent video. Hopefully, this is serving all of you. In return, I get some of your energy, and everybody wins here. Then everybody has a good Christmas. And then we can talk about what 2017 is, and talk about all of these symbolism tomorrow, how to make all of these egregors, how to make these different thought forms, and how to draw them out, and start to create your own grimoire. It's called grammar. So you start to use your grammar different. And what it means to be silent and produce something inside of your own consciousness. To produce the pictures inside of your head. To use thought forms and pictures to produce something that comes out of you later, because that's all this is. We'll stop getting it confused that screw this. We'll stop saying screw this physical reality, it's all spiritual, and we'll start going, oh wait, this physical reality is only a result of what I'm thinking and what's going on in the spiritual realm, so we'll correct that. And then here on this earth, then we will have everything that everybody wants, because there is abundance. There's completely abundance everywhere. So enjoy the abundant time of year. Have a magical Christmas, holiday season. Have a great 25th of December, or whatever year it might be on your calendar. Because we can even talk about creating new calendars. You could create your own new calendar. Wouldn't that be fun? Cheers, y'all.